So, fear in the punishment, hope in the reward, and last level, sister, you brought it up, consciousness. So, fear, love, consciousness. I think I can. So, how many people read Surah Yusuf before coming in? Yes, 1, 2. Brothers, okay. So, brothers, about 14 pages. I do want to go through it all together. So, everything I said today is in 6 pages of notes. So, everything I'm going to say is in 6 pages of notes. They're already uploaded. So, if you're willing, it's on a link, it's up. I don't want to fiddle with my phone right now. But if you're willing to kind of come for the ride, because if you got stuck in a class, like, oh my God, then this happened, and according to the Bani Israel, this happened, you're going to get lost in information. Ladies, be a guy for the evening. Look how efficient they are in taking notes. Right? Exactly. Just be a guy. Because, ladies, you know what you're doing. You've written down like a lot of things right now. So we're going to start together. For those of you who have not heard the story of Joseph, how many people have not heard the story of Yusuf? Oh, that's not Joseph. Biblical virgin. Okay, that's fair, buddy. How old are you, boss? Bitu, how old are you? 8? Okay. You shouldn't have heard this story. Because I really want to get to that part, guys. We're going to get lost in these first 4 ayahs. So I'm going to call it out right now and say the first 3 to 4 verses is where we'll get lost because it's so rich. 3 letters you don't understand, and then God said that these are self-evident, clear signs in a book that is clear. Indeed, the Quran was revealed. We sent down a Quran, Arabiyya la'allakum ta'qilun. And this is one really big part, and I hope that you could just jot ayah number 2 down, just these words here. So God is about to tell you the longest story continuously in the Quran. It's longer than the story of Mary, and there are more characters and more timeline involved. So this is the longest Netflix Quran series that there is. So bear with me on here. And how do I make sure my camel doesn't run away? Does anyone know? You tie him to a tree, and the camels will eat that. You tie one leg. It's like a club. It's like a parking brake. And then you essentially take the rope that you see the men wear, that black rope around their head. They tie the knee of their camel, and then he just kind of trots around and eats little leaves here and there. What does that rope have to do with intellect? Indeed, we revealed an Arabic Quran so that with some effort you all could tie your emotions and reach an understanding. Because emotion will cloud the events in the story. Right? A woman says, no, he had made advancements on me. 5 brothers threw a boy in a well, bro. Like, that's a big deal. You got to control your emotion and be like, okay. Because I'm telling you right now, we're going to read a story about an 8-year-old boy who went through as much trauma as we could imagine. He would be in therapy on multiple types of medication if that single event happened to him. But you're not getting lost in emotion. Because at the end of the day, does everything work out? Yes. So let's start right now. Let's split Surah Yusuf into 3 places. This is the meat of the conversation. Then I want to get into the discussion. So, you ready to get started? 3 parts. Let's break the story into 3 parts. Can anyone call out how many ayahs are in this surah? How many ayahs? How many verses? 110, 111? Leave it to Muslims. We have to This is just one. I now will say 110 ayahs, and then another school of thought 111. Okay, so 110, and it spans about how many pages? About 10, I think 14 pages. Am I almost up? Am I about? So about 3/4 of it is that fair? Between 10 and 12 pages. Definitely. So you can cover this. We're going to cover 110 verses and split them into 3 very specific categories. So in verse number 3, God says, نَحْنُ نَقُصُّ عَلَيْكَ أَحْسَنَ الْقَصَصِ. And I'm not being coy here. God knew that we would be Netflix binging. God knew that we loved stories and plays and dramas. He knew that human attention could be sucked into a reality show very quickly. And God said, let me tell you a story. And then He begins to tell the most detailed story in the Quran to me. This ayah is God looking out for us and saying, yes, the world is attractive, and the world and the stories and the ESPNs and the fourth season of Gilmore Girls was amazing. She got a Birkin bag. Whoa, who saw that coming? I didn't. So if you read all the way through and said, أوحينا إليك هذا القرآن, then you would be able to split the surah into three situations. So the best of stories with the most details. Now, who's the best storyteller of our time? Steven Spielberg tells amazing stories. Who else tells great stories? Stephen King. Morbid. Yeah, he tells morbidly great stories. Someone next to me on the plane was watching It. I was like, Allahu Akbar. Imagine watching It with no sound. It's horrible. No, Christopher Nolan. I was waiting for Batman. No. I like. He's a director. I like the movie. I like it. You're artsy. Friends, the best storyteller in this case, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala breaks us into three sets, three time events that take place. Number one, the childhood of Yusuf alayhi salam. Go ahead. In the childhood, can anyone call out one of there are two major events that take place in the childhood in the story. It's like the fourth ayah. Can I get someone to jump up on the computer, scroll us down, if you don't mind? Thanks a lot. Thank you. All right, friends. So childhood, adolescence, and maturity. Childhood, adolescence, maturity. For those of you now, the lecture part is done. All the fun stuff is good. You've laughed. Brothers, you can fill me out. For all of you guys, I put a hell of research into this, guys, and I'm really interested to present this for you now. What are the 6 events that happened in the story of Yusuf? What's the first thing that happened? Friend, can you scroll me down to, ayah number 4. What happens in ayah number 4? So little baby Yusuf alayhi salam comes over to his dad, and what does he tell his dad? Yes, sir. He had a dream. So pause. How old are you, son? 10. 10 is good. Let's go to your 8-year-old. Anyone 7? Let's go to 7. Okay. So so how old are you all? 7? Okay. I want you to imagine between 5 and 7 years old. You just woke up out of your bed and you're like super excited because you saw like all these stars and things in your brain. And then when you woke up, that movie that you see in the sleeping time, that came and it was like stars and all these cool things. Would you say that a child that had that type of relationship and that excitement, where would they go first? Okay, so parents, how many people would pick their dad? I got a basic parent. Okay, you do one of them. Okay, how many people would not necessarily run to their dad and be like, Dad, I have a dream? Okay, you all are wonderful people. You are ground. Let me help you here. If I went to my father and said, Abu, I saw a dream. I'm so sorry. Did you wet the bed? First question. No, Dad, we're talking about Allah. No, I just want to make sure. And so, that is essentially where that conversation would go. And then if it went any further, you'd be like, you did before though. This has actually happened. My family is here. They will. My cousins and I have walked in, 25 years old. Here, we walked into our house. My uncle goes, you gotta go bathroom? I was like, as a matter of fact, we do. And he goes, did you do it in the bank? I promise, he said, did you do it in the bank? And it sounded like a rap line. Did you do it in the bank? And we didn't. So that's why I wouldn't go to my father and say, hey, I had a dream about a couple of stars. So talk to me here, quickly though. What type of relationship do you have that you can take something that you don't know the meaning to? Something that you can trust. What type of relationship do you need to have to take it to your father? Good. You trust your dad. You don't just say, oh, Abu's coming, I better eat or do what I'm supposed to. You love your father. Do you see a loving relationship? Second event that takes place. What's the second event that takes place? Yeah, you can tell me. Is it like child abuse to talk about it out loud? Yo, his brothers captured him and threw him in a well. Okay? Sisters, you will not be able to appreciate this for a moment. Brothers, ever been there at 1 o'clock in the morning, wherever you are, sitting in a circle with a group of friends, and someone goes, hey bro, we should go do this thing. And then you're like, bro, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And then you kill that idea. How many people have been in a situation where your friends are like, yo, bro, we should go right now, man. We should go do it right now. And you're like, no, not a good idea. I've been there. And then you're there, and then every once in a while, one of those friends managed to succeed in his idea. And it will be 2 o'clock in the morning, and for some reason you're barefoot on the roof of a house doing things you shouldn't be doing. And you're standing there going, how did he succeed in this idea? Now, friends, can you imagine 5 brothers sitting together and going, yo, we should throw Fatima in a well, yo. Don't you imagine someone be like, no, we shouldn't do that. That's not a good idea. So I would like you, just for a second, to watch the progression of thought there. I want you to play telephone in your brain and say, we should throw him in the well. And tell that to the person next to you. Tell that to the person. How many people do you think it would take to stop and be like, this is a horrible idea? So I believe somewhere the brother said, no bro, this is a dumb idea. And he goes, no, I've got a better. After we throw him in the well, we'll just tell our dad, we'll feed him. Now, can anyone stop? I know it's gruesome for a second, but I'm in an adolescent teenager planning some high school shooting here. Can you stop and say, this is the dumbest idea? Anyone on the timer? Yeah, this is a very dumb idea, because has anyone walked up after you hit your child, your brother or sister, and then you said, oh, they ran into a wall? Okay, we're going to pause here. My sister somehow convinced me to get into a suitcase, closed it, zipped Sofiaki, closed it, locked it, and then put the suitcase down the stairs. I lay in the suitcase at the bottom of the stairs, and somehow I got in trouble. Because my dad said, oh, why did you get in the suitcase? Sisters, it's not always equal. That's all I'm going to say. It's not always equal. It's painful, but we take it. So, how does one go from, maybe we'll put Wisam in the suitcase, put him downstairs, to, hey, let's throw him in the well and tell Dad he did it himself. Big difference. So we're pausing here. I know you had a little comic relief, just so that I wanted you to be able to look at the whole scene and say, but who's at the bottom of the well after all the laughter is done? Now, is he abused? Is he a kid who's neglected and used to just being in dark places by himself? Or is he a bubbly, happy, loving child? Childhood closes. So can we close scene 1 by saying, beautiful childhood, traumatic experience, correct? Just jot that down. What's the next? Now what happens? Let's pause here. Can you all watch that video with me? Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam has a great relationship. I won't be shy. I'll put my hands down. How many people had a great relationship with their dad, or have? Alhamdulillah. I'm sorry, I love my dad. We love our dad. We love your dad. I can't say my dad's a lot older than me, so I don't say that we have a super chummy relationship. One more time. You have a good relationship with your dad? Somewhere where you can be like, yo, Dad, this happened. Someone you can trust? I think that's beautiful. You know, every brown person. Trust my dad. Okay, here we go. He has a good relationship with his dad. And friends, can you put yourself for that one moment? Do you think they came and told Yusuf alayhi salam, come on, just come with us? Or was there a moment where the background went dark a little? Where they were all playing, and then they were like, all right, bro, you've been a favorite for so long. All of a sudden, Yusuf. Let's see where Yusuf is today. Because, friend, you don't just take someone like, yo, I'm going to throw you in a well. Yo, nothing personal or nothing like that. Right? You take your aggression out. And because I need you to see this scene, because this is where the trauma takes place on 3 levels. Sorry about that. Trauma takes place on 3 levels. I gave it the weather, not the news. All right. Take your time with that. Oh, weather. Friends, if you could, what were the 3 levels of trauma that we experienced? Number 1, first trauma. Betrayal. First trauma is an emotional trauma of betrayal. Look, I know y'all don't like me, but I didn't know you guys were going to throw me in a well. Big difference. Emotional trauma of betrayal. There's a second one, though, that we can't see. There's one that we're all missing. Guys, you got thrown in a well. well. What kind of trauma is that? Thank you. Throw him in a well. Physical trauma, emotional trauma from being revenged from his brothers, his brother's back, ganging up on him. What did he lose, guys? Did he leave the house that day going, okay, Dad, I won't see you for 13 years? What did he lose? He lost his dad. He didn't lose his dad because his dad died. He didn't lose his dad but there's a very specific trauma that takes place here. He lost his dad because he was separated from his father. Okay, and now, real talk. Is this a real trauma, or did Yusuf alayhi salam blow it out of proportion? This is real talk now. Real trauma, right? Like, no, he was framing it wrong. Yo, his brother, is it? No, it's completely a real trauma. Does trauma lead to addiction, abuse? Does it lead to a reason to be a victim? Hell yeah. I don't know what planet you guys are in. Time out. How many people, without having to communicate the feeling, how many people have a trauma that they've experienced in their life? Okay, I know it's tough. Okay, I'll start simple. I was in a wheelchair for 2 years, never to walk again. That was a trauma. It's not CGI, but that's what. Don't ask what's underneath there. That's inappropriate. I ask that you now take the shift. He's taken away from his dad. A major trauma happens to him. What happens in Act 2, in his adolescence, in his teenage years? What happens to Yusuf alayhi salam? There are 2 events. What happens from the well? Gladiator style, what happens? He was sold into slavery. So, young boy, is he treated nicely as a slave? Yes or no, friend? Let me try this again. When he got captured out of a well, we were like, excuse me, sir, we have an employment service for lost children. Alright? Was that it? No. They treated him like a slave, guys. You guys are all like, no, but he's so beautiful. They treated him like a slave. Now, where does he get sold off to? This is a big, huge part. So childhood trauma that is it could be damaging. He gets captured, sold as a slave. To where? To where? Egypt. Pardon? Egypt. Thank you. Go Egypt. Okay. I lived there. I love it. So I want to pause here. He's sold into a very affluent household, and the woman of the household, older than him, younger. Older. She higher in rank? Does she get what she wants in the house? Does she have like 6 Birkin bags? You better believe she has 6 Birkin bags. Okay. No. I will have enough love for myself. Okay, friends, is she able to get her way, yes or no?
Yes.
Up to this point, Yusuf alayhi salam was pre-puberty, got thrown in a well, captured, grow up in a house as a servant where he's not going to be groomed and say, oh, you're so loving, let me care for you, let me hug you. He's a servant. So now, is it fair to say the second event in his adolescence, so first scene is done, thrown in the well, he's sold as a slave, and now the big scene of Surah Yusuf. What happened? Yusuf alayhi salam. You guys remember Tarzan, where he's a little kid in the cartoon, and then there's a song montage, and then he becomes a big boy? Yeah. That's exactly what happened. So Yusuf alayhi salam walking around the palace, little cute boy, and then all of a sudden, hello. And then he grows up, and now he's a big boy. He's a man. She sees him in the room. I've heard this story like 50 times, and Muslims get all quiet. It's like, bro, we watch soap operas that are like 15 times more hardcore than that, so relax. You're like, oh my God, could we read this portion of Quran? Yes, you can. But I think you're missing because, remember God said, Ahsan al-Qasas? So either God is telling you some spicy CW story, or there's a reason for all of the components. Am I off? Is CW still a thing? Their channel called CW. WB, when I was little, it was called WB. Now you guys grow up and you take Ubers and you expect me to keep up with all that stuff. Okay, let's keep going. So now, does anyone, how many people know the story of Yusuf and the master's wife? Oh yeah, I know this one. I wrote this one. I slowly put, I had kids in the room. Yes, okay. So the way you know the story is Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, please scroll us down. I think we're going to, is that like 15? Would be, take a moment. Just scroll down to when, scroll slowly and he'll call, it's called stop. Yeah, just scroll slowly. Thank you. Okay, friends. Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam is beautiful, he's attractive, he's divine in the sense that he is a prophet. She enters the room and what happens? Please, God, yes. Actually, فَغَلَّقَتِ الْأَبْوَابِ She slid the lock. Now, I'm sorry, friends, we're not 12 years old. You think she went up to the door, locked it, and said, "All right, let's get it going." Is there not a process of seduction that is being explained here? Isn't there like a whole cut to the Bollywood song, and she's like, right? Essentially, there's like some little seduction that goes on there. The peacock must show its feathers. And in this moment, this is where we're like, oh, he's saying little things, right? And you get this uncomfortableness, and this is where I want us to hang for a moment. She locks the door, turns to him, seduces him, and says, قالت هيت لك. She says in the most inviting, seductive way, come towards me. And what does he say? Pause. If you were, I took 6 Islamic classes and I got a beard and I wear a thobe, what would you say? Astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah. Is anyone checking? Astaghfirullah. Right? You would start throwing the religious card at her. Hang on, let's pause here for a second. How many people would be like, oh, this is haram? I'm going to go sit next to my friend over there because I don't know the rest of you. Hold on. I kind of walked you guys into that category. The 4 people were like, yes. Friends, let's stop here. Real talk. This socialite, this Kardashian of her time says, come hither. He says, قَالَ مَعَاذَ اللَّهِ. She says, I seek refuge with God. And isti'adha, ma'adha, means, can you scroll me? Is seeking submission to Allah. And then, guys, what does God say in the Quran? As soon as it's there, just let me know. Just call it out. Because God says, she desired him and? He desired her. Thank you. Can you say it because the kids can't say it? No, it's uncomfortable for them.
He desired her.
Now think about that. If I said, oh, this dirty mistress is the minister's wife, she's so naughty, she came and did all these things, you'd be like, yeah, bad joke. But if I said the man was also attractive, what do you automatically say? Stop. Right? Don't you automatically say, oh, shame. How could he want? How could he call and respond? And that's the thing that I'm asking for you all to ask right now. Did God show you the subtext? Did God say, and Yusuf was inclined to her? Yes. Now, pause. Before this moment, had Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam experienced or discovered any of his sexuality in any other standard? We talked about it. He's a slave. Has anyone even said, hey, you're a nice kid? Nothing. He's grown up in a place where no one's going to admire him. And now at this level, has he ever been aware of his sexuality? Ever? No. This is Act 2, where I am asking us to first acknowledge, and God said she called him and he what? Did he say, oh, ew, astaghfirullah? Or did he say, ma'adallah, I submit to God, I seek refuge with God, because God, you know. So just pause in a moment, guys, because so many times we've been wrapped, if you could just write one word for me, lust. Lust is a state, it is not an act. Many times, if you look at it biblically, it's a state. So does God say, don't lust? God says, don't fall into lust. Because once you're in the intoxicated state of lust, then a whole bunch of crazy things happen. Fair? I like the way that sounds. I like the way it fits. God is not, because many people attack, the God of the Bible, Quran, and Torah, is he just hates sensuality. No, friends. And why is God so obsessed with what happens when you take your clothes off? This was actually asked to a panel of scholars, of believers in God. And what's the answer to that, guys? That's the only time God should be the most concerned is when we take our clothes off. What happens? Babies happen. I'm sorry, friends, but that's a very big deal. That's a big component that God is saying it is inside the human being and it's natural. So I want to stop here and I want you to jot it down. So lust is a state, not an act. When God says, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا, does He say, don't commit fornication? Don't come close to it. Don't come close to the state, because if you get intoxicated by it, you won't be able to recover. Okay, let's go a little bit further. I want to poke, and I feel like I'm not getting anything back from this. Friends, as Muslims living in 2019, we should be reading Surah Yusuf on a weekly, monthly basis. How many people feel that sexuality is in itself, starting period, sex period, or sexuality is negative? I was raised with that. I don't know where the rest of you guys grew up. Or, wait. How many people already find that this much conversation would be considered inappropriate time? Thank you. And so almost did Yusuf alayhi salam really be inclined to her? Because being inclined to a beautiful woman at a stature, calling you, that would be horrible. But what does God say? He desired this. So if you would, from the place of trauma, the darkness of the well, fast forward 10 years forward to the Chanel of the woman standing in front of him. Does he have the reason to slip? You just smelled that. Everyone's like, oh, thank God. He's there in the darkness of the well, flashbacks, PTSD of the trauma of life, and in front of him is a locked door. And, wow, you bathe in roses? How does that work? And this happens, does he fall back into his trauma? No. And all you have to do is answer here, no, because we're going to go further. Because you're like, so he succeeded, he passed the test, you're still missing it. Trauma, sold as a slave, discovers his sexuality. Very big part of his adolescence. He's now a man, if that makes you feel uncomfortable, he discovered his desires. He discovered that, I'm a person too, I have feelings. Now she closed the door. Now I'm sorry, I want you to feel like a smack in the face, because this whole perfume narrative, now imagine that there's a knock at the door. Ha! Now all of her seduction, all of her movements, ladies, you gotta be there in that moment. You move a certain way when you need to seduce, and you move a certain way when, oh my God, but he did that to me. You move completely different. And we do too, men. Men present themselves differently. God talks about the change. The shift, where a woman who's not used to being, the victim, all of a sudden, she's like, look at what he did. Now, I know that there's a bit of uncomfortableness, and I want you to push into that. How many of us have found ourselves in a place of discomfort, and because of trauma, because of past shaming, because of guilt, we go into our you could never call it addiction. You begin habits that destroy you. How many people can say that? That it starts. And so, I want to stop here for a second. Thank you so much for the acknowledgement. I want to stop for the second. Most of us, when we look at a addiction, drugs, pornography, Netflix binging, even the concept of not loving yourself or not being able to stop the questions in your head, these are all addictions. What are they filling? They're filling a void. And that void is the thing that I am saying. All of us have some form of trauma. And in the case of Yusuf alayhi salam, it was real. And then when it was poked, when his wound was prodded and said, hey, I got something that will make the well feel better, he submitted. I'm a human being. قال معاذ الله. This is the key movement here, friends. I don't know if you want to agree with me here. I didn't know how far our conversation would come, but I'll say it. How many of us, I raise my hand first, have shame, guilt, and regret associated with our sexuality? Absolutely. And reading Surah Yusuf allowed me to undo these knots. And I know you're like, this got real intense. I told you that this is an antidepressant that God lets you watch. Anyone, when you're sad, anyone watch a sad movie? You're like, why am I doing this? And then you cry, and it's like, God, I hate this story. Watch it again and again. It's a good story. I hate the God. Okay. So we're here for a moment, and now I'm saying, why do we go through these? To see the hero emerge. to see the hero emerge. So we have Act 1. He had a loving relationship with his dad. His brothers betrayed him. Act 2. He was sold as a slave. He discovers his natural being a human being. Then what happened? Whoa. Go. I don't know how uncomfortable this can be. So he gets stuck in a Me Too issue. Okay? So he's standing there like, no, I didn't do this. And she's like, yes, you did. Then the lady comes and gives testimony, and guess what? He still goes to jail. I feel there's a little bit of a big part of the story that we all just glaze over it. Yeah, and then he went to jail. And if you read the ayah, when we scroll down to ayah 30, if we read the ayah, he did stay in jail for, it was more than 6 years plus 3, so you're thinking 9 to 10 years in jail. 9 to 10 years in jail for doing what, guys? Second act. This is the second act. So after discovering his sexuality and growing up and maturing, he accepts that there are 10 years of his life, an extended period of his life, where he's down on his luck. He's in jail. He interprets the dreams. How many people read the story of the dreams? Okay, so for those of you who didn't, Yusuf alayhi salam goes to jail. There are 2 guys in jail like, hey, yo, bro, what do you do? He's like, oh, I can interpret your dreams. They tell him his dreams. He interprets it correctly. Then he's able to interpret the dream for the king. He says the right answer, but his friends forget to tell the king, oh, Yusuf is still in jail. That's a fast-forward summary version. He spends 10 years in jail. After getting in these 10 years, can he have scars? Right? So he lives in a palace. It's understandable. But can the scars of the well come back up? When they're shackling him again, when they're pulling him into the cage and they're pushing him into the jail, can he feel that feeling of, oh my God? Yes, it can come back. Did he allow the trauma to relapse? No. And I'm not saying just because he was a good person. I am getting to the point that Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam continued to forgive himself, to heal his wounds, so that when he was forgiving people, was he forgiving them because it's a naked thing to do, or because he was forgiven? 2 different things. I'm angry, I hate you guys, but the pious thing to do is to be polite. Or, I live in a place of love, in a place of grace. God has always taken care of me. And I know this is hard for a Muslim crowd to hear, but swallow this pill. God loves me, and there's nothing I can do to get more love. God loves me right now, and there's nothing. I was like, wait a minute. No, I want to feel some hell. No, friend. Allah loves you, yes or no? Yes. I know that you don't believe it fully. You're like, yeah, when I go to Jummah. That's God, creator of universe. Okay, that's not even called a name. We don't even say name. Creator of universe. Source of universe. Does he love you? Oh, no he. Does source of universe love you? Is there anything you could do to make him, make that love more? And I know you're looking for like Sharia. No. God loves. You need to live in that love. And that's the point that I'm getting to Yusuf alayhi salam. That love, and if you want to write it down, love is not a noun, it is a verb. Jot it down. Brothers, if you ever get in an argument with spouse, just write it down. My beloved, love is not a noun, it is a verb. I am a man and I'm dumb. Well, that works. Test it, try it, it works. Even though your wife knows you're reading it off part, she's like, okay, better than your. So, sisters are all writing it down. Just in case he pulls this one. Love is a verb, not a noun. How many of us right now, where's my guy? If I look at my guy and I say to my chick or to my friends that I love them, according to our culture, according to my man culture, if I love him, what is the ultimate proof of my love to another person in our culture? No, how much I hate everybody else. How much I only love them, that's how I show you. I hate everybody else. I can't love nobody else. Except when love becomes a verb, it can be experienced too. Anyway, you go to mass, you could meet someone new, and you could say, I experienced it, like it's a verb, right? It happened. You look, you're like, oh, it feels nice. Now, does this man own my love? No. And I don't own yours, but we felt it for a moment, right? So is love a noun or a verb? That is what I'm trying to establish in the last scene, and it is now 9 o'clock, so I want to start landing this ship. So he gets out of jail, and where does he end up in the final scene? Palace. And in the palace, what is the job that he gets? Minister of bling bling. Yes, Minister of Finance. So now Minister of Finance is literally like, I would rather be Minister of Finance than the king too. King's got to do a bunch of busted stuff. I would cut those checks. So I would. I got a diamond tip miswalk. Pause. 30-second, totally frivolous, worthless information. Ready? We're in Dubai. No joke. In the airport, guy whips out, does he? 33 diamonds. 33 diamonds. So someone said, would it be bad deeds if I stole that and don't even? I was like, bro, there's too many halal harams to go through. No joke. He couldn't even hold it. Good stuff. And then he started saying subhanallah on it. And this old man came with like a plastic raggedy one, and he just stood next to him. I don't know if he was trying to like hate on him, but he did with his plastic husband. He started going subhanallah. Whether it's diamonds or plastic beads, it's all the same. Done with our frivolous information. Last component, he becomes the cutter of the checks. His brothers come out of the desert, and you guys hang on here. I'm going to come back to my 5 friends, brothers, who came up with this stupid idea in the first place. Little kids, stupid is a bad word. We came up with this idea. So you come back into the palace, and you're like, yo, give some money for our family. And you're like so not sure who I am. Yusuf alayhi salam sends them back with ration and one more thing. And this shirt. The shirt, he feels his dad remembers his son, and then when he comes back, this is my final point, so this is kind of the end of the road. When he comes back and his brothers enter, what does he do to his brothers? This is my issue. Did he just forgive them? Because, okay, how many people have been in a situation where someone wronged you, and then you grew up and you had the upper hand over them? Sorry. Humbly, I was trying to say it. I grew. Let's just say there were some people who told me, I swear to you, they held my throat and said, I swear you'll never be able to recite Quran. I was like, sorry. I couldn't hear him over my recitation. Okay, Brent, that's enough. just a little bit more. Can you stop for the moment and then land this ship here? Did he forgive them? How many people have been in that situation? Just real quick, hands up. Okay, so real talk. When you forgive, and how many people forgave? Okay, how many people forgave? If you don't mind, how many people forgave like this? I forgive you. Okay, so how many of us forgive like this? Yes. Okay, and then 2 days later, when someone brings up his name, like, yeah. I forgive. So, did Yusuf alayhi salam forgive them? Because forgiveness is right? I did it. I am saying, did Yusuf alayhi salam forgive? There's another place. Or did he act from a place of love? What did Yusuf alayhi salam do? He gave them ration, he forgave them, and then he said, like it never happened. I'm making my final conclusion here. His childhood rapist, the person who molested, I'm trying to get you to get the concept. So what? When I say well, you're like, cool butterfly. No, friend. Okay, so that he met his rapist 20 years later in the position of being the officer the judge who gives sentences to rapists. And what does he do? He says, they're my brothers. I forgive them. Is this forgiveness? No. This is I am loved by Allah. God does love me. I accept it. I'm not looking around for it daily. I accept it. Thus, I love you without expecting anything back. I care for you without expecting something back. I'll ask you one more time. Can you love someone passionately in your heart and they have no idea that you love them? Yeah. If you agree with me, raise your hand. take the moment though, because this is landing, oh, this feels so good. Yes, it does. It feels amazing. And this is something that we could bask in every single time. When we start at the beginning of the story and God's like, أَحْسَنَ الْقَصَصِ بِمَا أَوْحَيْنَا. We don't have to go all the way up, excuse me. إِلَى الْآخِرِ ayah. God says that this is the best of stories. Then you go through the trauma, then you see the hero of 1,000 faces. He beats the climax of his difficulty, and then he emerges victorious. But he does not act with love. He becomes love. And that's my conclusion. That Yusuf alayhi salam at the end of the surah has the opportunity to be like, yeah, I forgive you. You know, that's it. I forgive. Okay, let's pause here. I know this is tough for you. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was in a battle. We're going thousands of years later, and a woman, radiallahu ta'ala anha, she had one of his companions killed, and she bit into his body part. Right? Okay. Yes, I was just trying to be respectful. I know other people narrate her name. I was just trying to be respectful because can you guys imagine though? It's like Abu Sufyan. Radiallahu ta'ala, right? I don't want to bring up whatever happened in the past. It happens. You bite livers, I guess. Alright. So, back to biting livers. After the Prophet ﷺ came back to Makkah, what did he say to her? He said, look, I don't want to see you. Oh, Prophet? Oh my God. Yeah, it hurt. It hurt to see that part. I'm good. So this is something I'm asking you to raise the bar on the illustration of work. If anyone wants to correct me. Yeah, it was. Okay, fair enough. So we pause here to come back to this construct of love. I am saying clearly, everyone in this room has had some traumatic childhood experience at some level. Then that traumatic experience came into our adolescence. Whether it started with Netflix or pornography or watching TV or weight shaming or shopping, we started to get addicted to things that satisfied the whole. Those addictions destroyed us, and then when we had a chance to slip, we slipped harder. And in our older years, we got rich and we got our degrees and we all succeeded. But how many people grow up with scars and are full of anger and resentment towards their families? Yeah, not you specifically, not me, but if you took the math, you'd be like, you're older than me, you must be more scarred than me. Right? You're not older than me, you're 12 and a half, it's okay. General rule. I wish I was 12 and a half to come in. It's awesome. So friends, if you will conclude here, identify with one, you don't have to read the whole surah. Sit down with Surah Yusuf and be like, God, I want to be the hero in this story. I had trauma in my life. I was touched as a child. I was abused in my middle age, or even worse. I'm sorry for what happened in childhood. How many of us right now, I'm concluding right here, how many of us have had an experience where we hurt ourselves and our iman? I'm about to lie, folks. Get you, man. Get all vulnerable with you, man. I'm perfect. Friends, one more time. How many of us have done a thing that has hurt ourselves and then projectively hurt our faith? Oh, I did it. And I was like, this is not good for you, bro. Don't do that. And I did it, and it hurt. So, can we now forgive our aggressors, the brothers who threw us in a well? And how many people right now can say, I forgive myself for those choices I made? I do. I do it every day. I do it every day, from whether it's childhood choices. I'm trying to look for one that I can share with you right now. I'm not really coming up with anything that's shareable. So let's keep it in this safe zone. So let's pause on this. Each one of us has a trauma that was done to us and another one that we did to ourselves. We forgive ourselves by beginning the process of writing things down, reframing. So 3 words I ask you to start with: read, recite, and retain. If you would leave with 3 words. Rebirth. The first word is rebirth. Friends, how many astaghfirullahs does it take to get to the middle of the Tootsie Roll? It takes 1 astaghfirullah to get God's forgiveness. one. All the other ones are to make him happy. So rebirth, start with, O source, I seek your forgiveness. And once you seek Allah's forgiveness, I want you to hold on to this word forgiveness now. Does Allah forgive like we do? Does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, does Yusuf's forgiveness, alayhi salatu wasalam, closer to the way God will forgive? Closer. Is this fair for you? I'm trying to say, when we forgive, we think, oh, forgiveness. Right? You'll have that feeling later, or 5 years later, like, I forgave you, now give me that thing. We'll use it. Has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ever, are you hanging off the side of a cliff, and then you're like, oh, let's save me. He's like, but you remember that time you missed a pleasure? I remember, so I'm just going to kind of wait on this one for a little while. All right, just hang on for a little bit. Does Allah do that? No, absolutely not. You'd be like, oh, Allah, help me. Well, this one time you asked me. So, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's forgiveness without love? Rebirth, ask for forgiveness and accept love immediately, completely. Number 2, I would like to say reframe. Can you all write, if you're going to do this exercise, it's very helpful. If not, it's okay. Write numbers 1 through 12 straight down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. How many people went to school for approximately 12 years of school? Oh, this is not a trick question. Like kindergarten, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know, I've used the 6th and 7th together, and I messed some years together. Can't you tell? All right. You can take that anywhere you want. Okay, friends. All I'm asking us to do so that we can reframe. For every year, okay, kindergarten. Does anyone remember their kindergarten teacher's name? Yes. Okay, say it. What's your kindergarten name? Can you write down Miss Martinez in kindergarten, in year 1? What was your second? My second grade teacher's name was Mrs. Brett Schneider. She was 23 years old. She was like just out of school. So we all used to look up to her, gleamingly. Just write down the name. So, 3rd grade teacher. Sister. Pardon? Who?
Miss Funkhauser.
Miss Funkhauser. Monty Hauser's? Alright, Miss Funkhauser. We're going to end on this one. She can't get any better than Funkhauser. Oh, no way, December. 1st grade teacher, Mrs. Schwartz. So Funkhouse Rock meets burglars, and Schwartz. Now, friends, once you fill it out, I want you to write one event that happened in each one of those years. Give me one event that was awesome from kindergarten. I played the prince in Cinderella. That was awesome. Stop, because there really isn't much of a part for the prince. Got to wear a gold coat, friends, and I still am now. Okay, come on, friends, give me one event from childhood. That was good. Kindergarten? Friend, Babu, something good that happened in your age. You ever seen Ninjago? Yes? Right now. Boom, saw Ninjago. Okay, friends, what I'm trying to do is I want to identify one event. 3rd grade, what's something great that happened in the 3rd grade? I went to Umrah. First time I went to Umrah, 3rd grade. Oh, yeah, amazing experience. Yeah, parents, and I would say even my parents' friends were like, you guys are crazy, you're taking them, this is so weird.
I moved to the States.
Pardon?
I moved to the States.
You moved to the States, beautiful.
I was just like,
Ooh.
yes,
You showed restraint. He got into he did not get into a fight. Someone tried to provoke him. Can anyone now, I like it, can anyone now say that they could finish this list? Just come up with one positive thing that happened. Because in these 12 years, how many people can identify that in one of these 12 years there was a trauma? Yeah, okay? But instead of saying the year I smashed the side of my face and lost vision in this eye for a year. Okay, long story. I remember when that happened. But on my reframing chart, I have all the great things that happened that year. What does this do? We reframe. And lastly, friends, retain. Retain is the last one. I would ask you, after you heal your wounds, you rebirth, after you reframe, how many people would like to, the way we memorized Drake's latest album, How many people would like to verbatim memorize Quran and Arabiya and have the sound within them? Don't wave at me, girl. What about here? She's like, well, I'll take one of these. Hands up, that's right. Say it with pride. Say it like you want it. Because you want to be a retainer of the book of Allah. You all look like Miss Daisy, like trying to at an auction. And the lady in the purple hat, I'll give $15. Okay. We're going to conclude here, friends. Before I ask you to read out the last 3 words, what's the first thing we'll do tonight? Rebirth. Everyone, astaghfirullah. Yeah. So that's the end of the game, 4th quarter. So get out. Number 2. Reframe. Does everyone understand the concept of reframing? Did Yusuf alayhi salam get up and be like, I was thrown in the well? Like, that was a long time ago. Like, we're going to move forward here. Okay, reframe. Number 3. Retain. In the space that is no longer aching inside you. In the space that's inside you that's free, because you're forgave, memorize the Quran. Read the book of Allah. Thank you so much. I was given until 9:15. JazakAllah, khair. I paused. I asked for 3 things. Friends, around the world, there are people who are in very difficult situations. Not only to mention. That's why I hide during the Betrayal video. I'm taking my last 3 minutes. I can't keep seeing the kids. It's overwhelming. You guys have to watch it. Whenever I do an event with them, it's very overwhelming, and I have 6 little ones and big ones all together. So when I see my kids, as that video was playing, my eldest daughter was getting inducted in the Honor Society, and my son was texting me, the youngest, a picture of his brand new shirt. And I know the cost of his brand new shirt is definitely the cost of like a whole month's worth of food or something ridiculous. And I looked at him, and he gave me one of those big, Dawood smiles. It's tough, but that's not what I'm talking about right now. Because you all know you can give finance. That, I hope you do. I'm asking you to go a step out of it. How many people right now do you think are in another country but are unable to attend a lecture like this? How many people could think, okay. How many people do you think want to worship God but are in some Chinese camp being showed how to do ballet? All right. How many people are watching like VR K-pop in loop? Because the Chinese government literally is making them cultural reappropriation, just K-pop, Blackpink, but not that much. That's way too much. Okay, so we're going to come all back together here. How many people are in Kashmir? How many people are in Syria? So, at this moment, just in 1 minute, for 30 seconds, I want you to come up on the crest of your hips. I want you to open heart center, and so they receive your goodness. I'd like you to make a prayer for those around the world who can't do what you're doing right now. Pray for love. Not for you, because you got me for an hour. I mean, I love you. But, thanks guys. Take a moment, go back to that spot and say, oh God, oh Source, oh Allah, you have created all these good things for me. Now, with the power that I have within me, I create for them love, respect, compassion. Oh Allah, the feelings that I am feeling right now, the endorphins, the hormones that run through my body, the pleasure, the ecstasy of being in this group, I pray someone who's reaching out for it can have it right now. I pray a mother who's crying out for her child to have more, to have a moment of rest. I pray for them. I request 30 seconds for you to pray for yourself and the people around you. That's my only request. If you leave here and I am nothing more than Avengers 19, funny, good, great special effects, and then you go home and forget about it, there's no point in doing any of this. Use what we just created. Use the healing of the Quran. How many people could say just by the 1 hour of hearing about positivity and sexuality, about hearing the healing of their wounds, how many people could say they healed just a little bit? Fair enough. So with that space that is no longer scarred, I ask you to request from your Lord, from your Source, that He takes care of those in the world. 30 seconds, friends. Please pray for your parents. Please pray for your parents, alive or not. Please pray for your parents, whether you like them or not. Please pray for your parents, whether they like you or not. Please pray for your parents by name, and if you, after this list, are unable to pray for them, because of you're angry, please take your parents' names in your heart. I'll pray for your parents, you pray for mine. Everyone, parents' names in your heart. رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. JazakAllah khair. I pray you all have a wonderful evening. Now I'm off the clock. Off the clock is for me. I think it was 2 days ago, Sunday or Monday, my mom got admitted in the hospital. And as a result, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to come, or I was very much in the middle. And you all know my mom. That's their Chachi Nani. Dadi, Nani. Who are the big no Nani Dadi? Sorry, classism. She was admitted in the hospital, and I was really like, I don't know if I'm able to come and present without feeling like my mom's in the hospital with heart issues. But I came because my mom said, you have to go. I'll be fine. I'll be just fine. And you being here is not necessarily going to make me any better. And you can see how my mom would say it, like, go, get out of here. Why are you here? Is there a day? Should you be flying somewhere? So I want to say this much to you. If you believe that the things that are presented to you guys are just like they're a show, I would like you to say at least when they call me to come here, I put in 30 hours of research, presentation, preparation, pick out things that are brand new. Cognitive therapy was today's top topic. And I think we did a really good job of presenting things in a fresh way. All I request is let me be your grandma for a second. Just be grateful. Just leave and say Alhamdulillah. Look, if you walked out of the room and it was a great Brad Pitt movie, then you would say, hey man, you pray for guidance for him, Amin. What's wrong with you guys? Okay, pray for Amin, make dua, Allahumma inna salatu. But when you finish experiencing something, you go, you're like, oh man, that was great. Sometimes we go to a khutbah, a prayer, we go to a mass, we go to a Jummah. It's crazy, your iman is jumping around, and then you go, what's up, Taco Bell? Yeah, Taco Bell. Right? And you don't leave with anything. So my request is that you leave here with appreciation. Just a smile on your face. Hey, how was your evening? Alhamdulillah, it was great. And that to me will bring more goodness into your life. Last component, if we are more grateful in the Christian faith, in the Jewish faith, in the Hindu faith, what's the biggest thing? Shukr. To do, I know there's idols involved, that is a little bit of technicality, but it's the wrong way, but they're praying, we're just got to pray the other way. Point is, friends, we overlook gratefulness. We overlook saying, thanks God. So today I ask you to leave here saying, things are going to be good. Final shift, if you can make it today, your life will change. If not, I speak regularly. God is, after today, no longer simply watching you. Write it down. From today, God is watching out for you. Everything that happens to you thus forward, God is not saying, oh, God, you misfire, let's flood the earth and kill Syrian babies. As a matter of fact, you will see that God is watching out for you. How many of you are like, oh, God hates me because I don't wear a hijab or pray or have a beard, which would be really complicated to do at the same time. But hey, I guess with the right hormone therapy, you could wear a hijab and have a beard. I don't know. I'm all accepted. JazakAllah khair. All that is being pure from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanallah rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. I hope you all have a fantastic evening. I will see you all. And I'm a little bit old school. Old Maulvi. So would you all put your hands together? Open them. Now instead of clapping, just make a quick dua for yourself and your family. ربنا هب لنا من ازواجنا وذرياتنا قرة اعين واجعلنا للمتقين اماما. For those of you who are not married, pray right now. Oh Allah, make me have open communication the way Yusuf alayhi salam did. Make me a dad the way Yusuf alayhi salam had a dad. Oh Allah, make me patient and exercising of love and forgiveness the way Yusuf alayhi salam did. Oh Allah, give me the patience for the crummy years of my life where I could be stuck in a quote-unquote jail. Oh Allah, help me to get through the darker years of my life and help me to reach a place of success. And Ya Allah, when I reach success, help me not to look down on those around me. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Now, I know you're like, so we did it. We're done. Hali, look Hali. JazakAllah khair wa assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
We thank you, Imam Wisam.